I'm Shel Nymark, also known as Jelly Roll. It was the summer of 1974. I was traveling around for the second summer in the row with my band, String Bean, Jelly Roll, Trash Can, and Sister Plush Bottoms. We were moving from town to town, playing in the streets, occasionally in restaurants or bars. The first thing we'd do when we'd get to town, we'd pull out our instruments and play, and we'd say, does anybody have a place we could crash tonight? And always there was something. As we pulled into San Francisco and we played the first time, some man from Marin County said, you can crash at our house. And we went to his house, and it was just this beautiful Marin mansion in the trees, and we thought, yes, this will do. So one night, it was a Saturday night, we were driving into San Francisco to play on Magic Corner. So every town we went to, we found a place that we called Magic Corner. If we were playing 20 yards down the road, nobody would pay attention to us, and we'd go home with an empty case. And if we played on Magic Corner, the money would fly and people would enjoy themselves, and everyone would have a good time. So this particular Magic Corner in San Francisco was in front of a bunch of bars, and on a Saturday night it was really hopping. So we drove our two vehicles, the Bluesmobile and the Ragtime Roadster, into town, pulled out our dozen or so instruments, and started unpacking. We were dressed in our Saturday night thrift store finery. I was in my Taos coat. So we'd opened up our sign, opened up our cases. Trash Can and String Bean brought out their shiny steel guitars that flashed in the light. I took out my cello and my violin and my ukulele, and we were ready to go. We started playing. A crowd gathered really quickly. People started dancing in the street. They were throwing money into our case. Everybody was having a good time. Well, on this particular corner, it was about our fourth or fifth time playing there. The cops had come one time and told us, the bar owners are really complaining about you guys because you're keeping all the customers out. So could you please stop playing around 10 o'clock? And we said, sure, no problem. But this Saturday night, was a little bit different. There were maybe 60, 80 people, and they were dancing and having a good time, and we were not paying attention to the time. All of a sudden, from out of nowhere, a cop comes by, kicks our case closed, and said, I'm taking you down to the police station. The crowd got really pissed off. They told the cop, you can't do this. These people were giving us their music. No. And the cop assured them and said, we're taking him down to the station, we're going to give him a citation and let him go. So we got in the cop cars and we got down to the station. Some of the people who'd been watching us play music followed us. Again, the cop said, we're just going to give him a citation and let him go. The audience left, and the police marched us into the jail. They put us three men in a room, a windowless room with dark green cement benches and a light green wall. And it dawned on us, we're in jail. We are prisoners. We have no power. What we thought was an interesting adventure suddenly turned pretty serious. Here we were, privileged, middle-class, white college kids, thrown into a cell with people who had committed what we considered real crimes. How did this happen, and how can we get out of here? The first thing the cops asked us is what we were traveling in, and we only told them about the Volkswagen because all our marijuana was in the Ragtime Roadster. So somehow they didn't even question that four of us and a dozen or so instruments, including a cello, could fit in this Volkswagen and travel around. We worried about Sister Plush Bottoms all by herself. We had enough money with us to bail her out, but not all of us. So we gave the money to the guards and set her free. When morning came, they took us to our cell. We marched through the prison in the San Francisco County Hall of Justice. We passed a cell with a bunch of transvestites. I had never really seen transvestites before, and I just was amazed at seeing men that had actual breasts. They were catcalling the cops and the guards, and it was a pretty wild scene. They opened up the cell we were going into. There were about 20 or so other inmates in there. My first image was of a man probably about 70 years old. He was totally naked. He had just taken a shower and there was no towel. And he tried drying himself off with toilet paper and there were just bits of paper stuck all over his body. Breakfast that morning was bologna, white bread, and mayonnaise sandwich. Sometime in mid-morning, they let all 20 of us out to make a phone call. Unfortunately, only one or two people had the time to make a phone call. At some point, Trash Can called his parents. He was the only one of us willing to tell our parents where we were and asked his dad if he could send some money to bail us out. We were marched back into the cell. Lunch was bologna and white bread and mayonnaise. We lay around on our bunk beds during the afternoon, and then we found ourselves scratching a little bit because we all got lice. That evening, the bail money came and we were finally let out of prison. Our hosts from Marin County said, you need to go to Mount Tam, and they drove us up to Mount Tamalpais above where they lived in Marin County. They were beautiful hills covered with straw-covered grass, and as we sat there before the sunset, we could watch the fog roll in all around us from the ocean. We felt like we were the only people in the world, free, and we thought of our compadres back at the jail and felt so bad that they were stuck in that horrible place while we were in paradise. The next morning, Monday morning, we went back to the San Francisco County Hall of Justice to go before the judge. Sitting in front of us, the case before us, was a man dressed up in a dress and high heels. He had breasts and perhaps a mustache. And the judge addressed him as Mr. Jones with a totally straight face. And again, I was still not used to seeing transvestites, and I just couldn't understand how the judge could not even crack a smile when talking to Mr. Jones about him hitting his boyfriend with his purse in a bar the night before. Then it was our turn. The prosecutor said to the judge, Your Honor, how can we prosecute these people for giving their gift of music to the public? The judge, who was maybe in his late 70s, wrinkled up, said from the bench, Well, I hope it was classical music. And we so much wanted to say, Your Honor, we cannot tell a lie. We was playing the blues.